Hey, it's Jag.
We're building a snare drum.
Yeah. So it's new project day, and we're doing an instrument, and it's a woodworking project, and no electronics for a couple months. Yay!
Yay!
For those of you who followed my channel for a while, you'll recognize Todd Pretty, one soul thrust drummer. And Todd and I started talking about 6 or 8 months ago about building a snare drum and doing it on this channel. So we've finally got the time to start that. We wanted to kind of do it a little earlier because now it's into the fall. We're in the middle of October and it's getting pretty cold. But we're going to push through it, get it done. Hopefully it'll be done by Christmas. I think the only thing that's going to be difficult is going to be getting the finishing done, and we'll probably move into your shop for that because we can get it warmer.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? We're building a stave drum. So for those of you who don't know, a stave drum is kind of built the same way they build oak casks, whiskey casks. You take staves, pieces of wood, you bevel the edges, and then you put them all together until you get a bunch, you get a rough circle, and then you mill that down till you have a smooth outside, and you mill the inside. And in our case, we'll end up with a snare drum. So what kind of snare drum are we building?
We are going to build a maple snare drum. The size dimensions that I have chosen is a 14-inch diameter by 6-inch deep. And we're going with an 8-lug snare. It's kind of a common snare because I bought a donor snare. So I have all the hardware and the rims already. So we're ready to rock.
And you've got the donor snare over there in pieces. So
yes, here's our donor shell.
Which we won't be using.
No. But we're going to get dimensions from this guy, some measurements, and yeah, it's a Tama Rockstar.
Put it here for a second. So that's the one thing I checked. And so, and looking online, like we're saying we're doing a 14-inch snare, but when you check it out, it's about a 1/16 of an inch under 14 inches around, and it seems pretty standard that actually a 14-inch snare is about 13 7/8. I don't know a lot about drums, but we're going to shoot on our shell for somewhere between 13 7/8 and 13 and 15 16, somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't think it's too critical if you're a little off. I've watched a lot of guys build drums, and there's quite a bit of room for leeway. The other thing I know about this shell is it's actually deeper than 6. It's 6.5, and I don't think that matters. I think we can make it as deeper or shallow as we want. So.
We can, yeah. This is I honestly thought this was a 6, but I have never taken the tape measure out and measured it, to be honest. So I got it and basically ripped it apart and getting ready to be here.
Okay, so that's the donor shell.
Yeah.
We can put that over there somewhere.
Okay.
And so why don't you just go through what you've got for hardware here. We'll leave the casters till a little later. We'll talk about the jigs.
Well, we've got obviously our top and bottom hoop. So we've got our snare side. So we've got our holes in here for the snares once we're done. And we're ready to mount hardware. This top guy, this takes a beating. All our lugs and our tuning rods and stuff, I've kind of reassembled and put them in so that obviously, once we're ready to reassemble, it's going to be a nice, quick, easy job. Probably polish those up as well. Get some like aluminum or chrome polish, sorry. And yeah, clean those up.
Oh, let's see one of those. I want to check something. Well, we're talking about it being 6 inches.
Oh, right, yeah. The tension rods.
Yeah, that's right now they're down to 5 inches. So we got lots of room to play with for that.
Yeah.
How thick is our shell going to be?
We were shooting for a little bit thicker than 1/4 inch at the end, just because we want those bevels and the glued sides to hold really strong. So I think we're going for a 3/8.
Yeah. So we might have to, I don't know how far these screws go out. We might have to replace the screws, but I don't think that's going to be a big problem. So that's the hardware.
Yeah.
Let's set that out of the way.
Okay.
Like Todd said, we're going to make it out of maple, and I've got a bunch of maple that's been sitting around in my shop for a while, and I got a couple boards that I think are going to be perfect for this. This board's 29 3/8 long.
So we can make a 29-inch
Yeah,
snare.
yeah. 2 inches thick, we could make a kick drum. This one's 29 3/4. And also, it's a little less than 2 inches thick, 7 inches and 8 inches. So I think we're going to be able to get all our staves out of this. I played around with one of the stave calculators and trying to decide how many staves we want to make this out of. So it seems like there's no really set number of staves. I've seen one guy did 30 staves. A lot of people seem to do 20. A couple guys did 10. I think we're going to go with a 12 stave for now. The reason is when I did this, well, first of all, the 30 staves, from what I understand, the more staves you have, the more finicky it is. With a 30 stave drum, your staves are going to have a bevel, 6-degree bevel.
Oh, wow.
Cut in each side. Whereas with a 12-inch, with a 12 stave drum, that's a 15-degree bevel. And to my way of thinking, if we have 6-degree bevels and we're building a 30 stave drum, and we're off by like 0.1 degree, by the time the whole drum is built, you're off almost a whole stave. So things aren't going to fit together right if you're not exactly right on your angle, your bevel angles.
Right.
Whereas with 15 degree, if you're off by 0.1 degrees, it's a much smaller error. Plus, it's less pieces to fit together. So I think we can fit everything better. I think it just makes more sense to make one out of less staves.
Yeah, especially for a guy like me. I'm not a woodworker. I'm just a drummer. I'm stoked to be here. And I think it's good for a first project.
Yeah.
First snare drum.
Yeah. So, and the advice I've gotten was go with less staves. So I played around, came up with a 12 stave. One of the reasons I came up with 12 stave is we're going to start with the stave blanks themselves. The staves will be 3/4 of an inch thick. And we're going down to about 3/8 or 5/16. If we start with 3/4 inch thick blanks and we go any smaller than 12 staves, we're going to end up with a thinner shell because we're going to have to mill more off of it. So 12 staves looked like we could hit our target thickness for that drum. So I think that's the best choice. So that means what we're going to do when we cut the staves, they're going to have a 15-degree bevel on each side. You can see here the 12 staves. They're going to be 3.78 inches wide on the outside. And then when we cut the bevel in, that's going to be 3.38 inches. We'll have 12 of those, 15-degree on each side of the bevel. 12 staves, 15 degrees, two sides each, 30. 30 times 12 is 360. So that's how we get our 360 degree drum. So I think what we'll do is we'll start by cutting these down to maybe 4 inches wide. And then we'll rip them down the middle and they should end up being about 7/8 thick. So what we'll end up with is a bunch of sticks that are 4 inches wide by 7/8 of an inch thick, and that will be where we'll start with our staves. So once we've done that and we get everything milled and flat and straight edges and everything on the table saw, we'll set up a 15-degree. We'll set up the blade at 15 degrees, and I've got a digital angle finder. Oh, it goes to 2 decimal points too.
Perfect.
So we should be able to get really close to bang on 15 degrees.
15.00.
Yeah. So what we'll do once we get these down to the 4-inch wide sticks, we rip them to the thickness we want. We'll set up the table saw with a 15-degree bevel, run all of those through on one side to get 15-degree, on however many sticks we need. It looks like we'll probably need maybe 3. And then we will set it up so that we get that 3.8-inch width, or whatever, 3.83 width. We'll sneak up on it with the table saw. And then the side that has the bevel, you still go with the bevel going like this. We'll go against the fence and then we'll cut the other bevel in on those sticks before we cut it down to the stave blanks.
Perfect.
Once we've done that, we'll cut them until we've got, I wouldn't mind, we got enough material here, maybe we'll cut twice as many staves as we need. And then if we have some kind of mess up and we have to start over, we got enough staves for another one.
This guy's thinking, you're thinking.
Yeah. So once that's done, we're going to need to put it together. First, we're going to dry fit it, so make sure everything fits and all of the joints fit tight.
Perfect.
And if they don't, we'll adjust maybe one or two, or I don't think you need to, if it's off, I don't think you need to adjust all the staves. I think, and we'll find this out as we do it, but we'll put all the staves, line them up dry, and make sure they're fitting as tight as possible. And if one is a little open on the outside or the inside, I think we can just adjust the angle on just those two staves there.
Right.
Again, we'll see what happens. So having extra staves, that's another reason why we would do that. Once we know that everything fits together tight like that, we will glue it up and we'll clamp it. We can use either ratchet straps, and you just don't tighten them too tight or you're going to take it out around. We got to make sure it stays in around. Mm-hmm. But there are other ways you can use, I think they're hose clamps. They're like 40-inch hose clamps. I've seen a lot of guys use that. And what I really like about that is they really cinch up around. Mm-hmm. Like even where the screw part is, it's not very flat. Whereas with a ratchet strap, the
buckle.
Yeah, the buckle might try and want to push things out. So mm-hmm. We'll figure that out when we do it. I've got lots of ratchet straps here. I don't have any big hose clamps like that.
I know where to get
We'll give that a try. So then once that's glued up and put together, then we just need to mill the outside smooth, because we'll have a bunch of corners. 12 corners, 24 corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll have 12.
Yeah.
We'll have 12 corners. And we're going to have to build a jig that can go on the router table that we can use to mill the outside perfectly round. Once the outside's round, we've got to make a jig to round the inside as well, and take it down to the shell thickness we want. So when we're doing the outside, what we're going to do is do our best to get it round and stay within that 13 7/8 to 13 and 15/16 inch shell. Mm-hmm. And then where we'll get the thickness of the shell is when we're doing it on the inside, and we'll sneak up again on that. So we're going to need to build 2 jigs for that. And I cleaned my shop up, straightened up last weekend, and I thought, well, I've got a ton of scrap wood that is going to probably be perfect for making these jigs. And I've got a couple of great big plywood boards here. So I think we've got enough recycled material to make our jigs. And basically what we're going to do for the one doing the outer round, we basically need to have it sit over the router. And we're going to need to have 2 sort of risers. Now, this isn't going to look so good, but let's do it like this.
We'll chalk this up to a mock-up.
Yeah. Well, we definitely are mocking it up. So if the router table, if the router were right here in the table, we need to have some form of frame on the bottom, and then these risers, and then we drill a hole, and across there we'll put this threaded rod. From here, what we do is we set this so that this height is perfectly parallel to the top of the router table, and that we can have some sort of mechanism for adjusting it a little bit up and down, so we get this. I think if we set this so that the rod is 14 inches, or maybe 14 1/4, mm-hmm. and then if we at least have one side that's adjustable, so we can make it parallel, mm-hmm. and then we just deal with getting the outside round by raising the cutter in the router. So that's kind of the idea for doing the outside. So then the drum shell blank will go on here. It'll be clamped in between 2 pieces of wood here, and we just rotate it over the router. And as it rotates, because this is threaded rod, it will sort of want to carry the shell across. For doing the inside, the router will be on actually a carriage that will go across, say, two boards like this, with a carriage going across, and the shell will roll on some casters. You got some casters here.
I did. At the old local hardware store.
Where did you go, Princess?
Yes, if we're name dropping in Canada. Princess Auto for all your hardware, farming, and miscellaneous needs.
So let's pretend this is our jig for doing the inside. So we'll have something like 2 stretchers on the side like this. Mm-hmm. And then the casters will sit up like this. And then the shell, might as well get the shell.
I am getting the shell. I've got nothing fastened.
Yeah, and then
This is just a
the shell will sit on those casters, and we will roll it. And as we're rolling it, the shell stays where it is, and the router goes through on a carriage through here and routes the inside of the drum.
Very cool. I'm digging it.
So that's the plans for the jig, or the plans. That's the description of the jig. I haven't drawn the plans yet because I haven't had time to get into SketchUp. Oh, yeah. And I have this too. It's a stainless steel rod, and it does not flex at all.
Zero flex.
So if this flexes too much, and it doesn't really, but we could use this, and then we just have to make sure we're moving the shell across.
Right.
That'll all get more clear when we make the jigs. Like I have the idea how we're making the jigs for that, but I got to plan them out, and then we'll see how that works. So once we have that done, we have the outside shell round, the inside round, and sand it. We'll fine sand it down. What are you thinking of for finish on this drum?
I am very open. I would prefer that maybe as this thing progresses, maybe the drum will tell us kind of how it wants to be finished. Personally, I'm thinking like a stain, like a color. I don't have a color in mind right now, but yeah, I'm thinking like a stain and a clear to make this baby look nice and shiny.
Yeah, so I definitely think staining it is going to be nice. This is pretty plain wood, so it's going to look pretty plain Jane. And you have 2 kits. I don't even know anymore which one's your main kit anymore, but you have your orange kit.
Yes.
And you have your other kit, which is black with gold sparkle.
Yes.
Sort of cascading kind of stuff. So
yeah.
One of the options would be to have that drum match with both kits, is maybe a sort of an amber or a sort of an orangish amber stain, leaving the wood grain, and we just have to pick the color right, but so that it looks good with both kits. I think you kind of play your orange kit the most.
I do.
Okay. So if we're making a choice for one or the other, let's build this to go with the orange kit.
Sure.
And then, so staining it is not the big deal. We'll use water-based stain. Stain it, sand it back, stain it, sand it back. Depending how the grain looks here, we might want to put a black stain on first and then sand most of that back to accentuate the grain in it.
That would be cool.
We'll see how it looks when it gets there. And then we can stain it. And we have quite a few options for finishing it. Like if you want the wood look, we could oil finish it, or paste wax finish it or something like that. But you were talking about clear coat. If we do the clear coat, I don't imagine we'll be doing that before probably maybe even into December. So it's going to be pretty cold by then. It'll be easily -10 to -15, maybe even colder. So that's where we might have to go work in your shop, because you've got better heaters. You said you could keep the shop at about 65 degrees.
Yeah. 71, I think, is the highest I've had it during the winter months.
Okay.
Which is pretty much room temperature.
Yeah, because we want to keep it, I'm switching between Fahrenheit and Celsius, which I always do. We want to keep it above 10 degrees Celsius, or it's not going to cure right.
Right.
And we might have some other issues. I'm not a specialist on finishing. It's the thing I know the least about. but we want to watch out for how it cures, how it looks when it finishes. So we'll want to do that, and we're going to definitely want to coat sand, wet sand, polish, do all of that to get a nice glossy look on it. I'd really like to do it that way.
Okay.
But we do have options, and we can kind of decide that a little more down the road.
It's his channel. He can do what he wants.
So I don't know if this is how long this video is going to be, and I don't know how much of this that we've just shot is going to get used, because it might sound like a bit of a ramble. But really, what I wanted to do was shoot a video saying, here's what we're going to do, here's what we're planning. We are going to plan these episodes. So before we do these episodes, we're going to know what we're doing in that episode and what we need to accomplish, and all the materials will be there and ready. I think obviously the first thing we need to do, I got carried away about the milling jigs, but they're not the most important thing at the start. We need to actually cut the stave blanks, get the bevels in them, get them all, get them so they're working.
Let's get an actual drum.
Yeah, glue it together, get the raw shell, and then we're going to have to make sure that the top and bottom of it are square and everything. So I think probably the next episode, that's what we'll be doing. We'll be cutting the wood. We'll be cutting the stave blanks. We may or may not mill it all down before we do that. We may do it on that day. It really depends how much time I have, how much time you have, and when we can do it. But if it looks like we have a day we can dedicate to it, or even 4 or 5 hours, like on a weekend, I've got a little bit more time than you, but we should be able to mill, cut, make the blanks, and glue everything all together. So that's what I'd like to try and do in the next video. Once we get all of that done, then we're going to have probably an episode just where we're making the milling jigs and making those, testing them in whatever way we can. Again, like I say, if we got enough staves here, we might test it for real, or we might get some scrap and do a dry test.
Or we could build a second snare.
Do you want to build 2 snares?
If we have the stave power.
You know what?
Yeah.
What we could do is let's do that. We got more than enough material to build 2 snares. We can learn building the first one. So let's do that. Let's cut enough for 2. We'll put one together. If the blank turns out, or if the shell turns out well, then we'll make the jigs. If that all goes well on there, then we've got the shell. Then we can look at finishing and doing all of that, and we can actually glue up another shell and kind of make a second. Now, I don't want to get bit on the butt, because in 2022, I did that building my GGBO guitar, and I was trying to build 2 guitars at the same time, and it was a disaster. So, so we'll see how that goes.
See how it goes?
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's probably as far as we're going to go today. So thanks for watching. Like always, please like and subscribe. I appreciate all of the subscribers I have. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps a lot. If you do subscribe, ring that bell so you get notified when we get to the next episode of this. And check our band, One Soul Thrust. The links are in the description below. And until the next video,
we'll see you.
Kaboom.